Hello, thank you for joining us today. We're glad you made it. Here's your host of Time Out with Jim. It's Jim.
First of all, what state are you living in now?
I'm living down in Sanford, Florida, which is outside of, it's between Orlando and Daytona Beach.
Oh, okay. At what age and what made you decide to sign up to go into the Navy?
Well, I've been thinking about that for the last few days. Originally, I decided to go in because of the Iran hostage situation in '79. I personally thought that President Carter would do something, and with my dad being retired Navy and my uncle, Uncle Jim being retired Navy, I decided on the Navy. I started on the 5th of February, so technically I was 18. I turned 19 in boot camp.
Oh, okay.
I originally planned on staying for 4 years, getting out, going back to college, because that's the other part of the reason I went in, is I had gone to school at the University of Georgia. The summer semester and the fall semester was going to stay out the January, February, and March semester. And I talked to my advisor, who told me that the only semester you can stay out is summer semester without reapplying. So pretty much I got upset, got pissed off, called mom and dad to come get me. And because I would have, like I said, had to reapply for admission, and considering I had a 1.24 grade point average, I didn't think that I would get in. And so joining the Navy was like, okay, get your act together, get some money for college, blah, 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 which turned out not to be the situation. Like I said, originally it was going to be the ship I got to, which was the Carl Vinson, was actually a carrier, what's called a Nimitz class carrier. And I was originally told when I was in boot camp that we were going to get to the ship and it was going to go on a cruise within a couple of months, which is what I was looking forward to. Turns out the ship was being built, wasn't even finished yet. Imagine a 15-story, say a 25-story skyscraper only having about 15 floors of it done.
Wow.
That's how much was left. It was 3 years before we actually went on a cruise, which was supposed to pull out in March of '83, pull into California in October or November. My plan at that time was to, take the ship around, get out of the Navy, go to the 1984 Olympics in LA, and then decide what I was going to do. And that all changed about a year and a half later. That's the first ship. The other questions, I believe, were about the other ships. Or where do you want to go next?
Let's talk about basic training. How long was it, and was it as tough as movies make it to be? No, you got like the drill sergeant, hounding you day and night. Is it that tough?
truthfully, I had been in ROTC in high school, junior ROTC in high school, so I already knew a lot of the stuff that they were going to throw at us. So it wasn't as tough as it wasn't as tough on me as it could have been on somebody else, coming from a different background. I will say that the physical part of it was, normally people go through there and gain weight because they eat, they're being fed, 3 meals a day, blah, blah, blah. I actually lost weight because of the amount of physical training. If you can imagine being in a room, probably 100-foot long, 50-foot wide, and the windows on each side of the room fog up because there's so much physical training that you're perspiring, and it fogs the windows up from the inside. How that is today, I don't know. That was 40 years ago, actually 41. Overall, like I said, because I knew had come from that type of family and ROTC, I actually had a pretty I won't say easy, but somewhat easy 8 weeks. I like I said, started on the 5th of February, and we ended 8 weeks later, sometime in April, I think. I'd have to go back and look. And that's about it for boot camp. Like I said, since then and before then, I've heard things have changed. Let's just say back when, my dad and your dad went to boot camp, there was a lot more physical. There was more, I'd say more marching, more, you actually carried a weapon, a mock-up of a rifle that you had to, learn drill and everything.
Oh, yeah.
That you didn't have to do that when I went through. I don't know if they've done it since, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I was in ROTC up in a high school in Waukegan, Illinois. And I think I spent maybe 5 or 6 months in that. Then we moved to Iowa.
Yeah.
When you retired, what was your rank? Time out with Jim. We'll be back after this break.
Please consider donating to anchor.fm/timeoutwithjim and help keep our podcast going.
Oh, sorry. I retired in February 2000 as what's called a SKC, which is a storekeeper chief. In the Navy, you have E1 starting at the bottom to E9. E7 being a chief, E8 being a senior chief, and E9 being a master chief. I also had 2 what's called designators, special warfare pins. One was what's called surface warfare specialist. The other one's called an aviation warfare specialist. And what that meant was that I did extra study to learn the whole ship I was on. Stuff that, like how the engine room works, how the the propulsion works, how it makes power to, to heat the ship, or to, any other ships that are close by. And in the aviation warfares, we also had an aviation component on our ship that I got it. And it's, what do you call it? Just pretty much learning, about aviation. And, when you look at, when you're on a plane, coming back, say from a vacation, and you look down and you see the runway, I would learn, okay, what those numbers meant, which way they were going, and what the different planes were, what the different just different things. I became a specialist on that thing, on that aviation and on surface warfare. The Navy has a lot of other warfare specialists. One's, everybody knows about SEALs. That's technically a warfare specialist pin, or not really an award, but it's something that you earn. It's not given out, like candy. You definitely have to put forth the effort to get it. When I got it back in 93, it wasn't as well. It wasn't a requirement back then. So if you did it, it's kind of like you did something above and beyond. Nowadays, it's a requirement. So, imagine, you want to, down the road, you want to be a chauffeur or a bus driver, but you go get your regular license. And if back then it'd be like you going out and getting your chauffeur's license, even though you really didn't need to. But down the road, you wanted to have that chauffeur's license. So it's a lot harder than that. But now it's pretty much everybody that's in, have them. I think that it's personally, like I said, when I got the 2 in 93, I was like one out of all the people in the Navy enlisted. I was maybe 4% of the whole Navy had 2 pins at that time. Now you'll see, I was an E6 with 12 years in when I got him. Now you see E3s with less than 5 years or 4 years with them. Like I said, it's a requirement now compared to not being one. Hopefully you can understand all that. Sorry.
Yeah. What's the very best part of being in the Navy? What was your favorite thing about it?
Looking back, oh gosh, I would have to say the camaraderie. There are people today that I made friends with back then that if they called me up and said, hey, I need your help, I'd be there. Huh. But you got to remember, aboard ships, especially, at any given time, your life could be in their hands.
Yeah.
If a fire, broke out, you're trusting that person next to you to be there to fight that fire with you, not to, to bail, not to leave. There's not many people many people outside of that since I've retired that I can say that about. It's nice that I did 20 years in the Navy. I got a retirement check. I got a medical care, for the last 21 years now, next month.
And what was the worst part about it?
That I would say 2 things. One is being away from the family. And 2, some of the stupid asinine orders that were given. Meaning you have somebody that's, in charge. And I know this happens on the outside too, at various companies since I've retired. I've found this out. But it just seems like they promote people to their level of incompetence sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating to know what you're doing and get told to do it a totally different way. Just because of their rank.
Time Out with Jim. We'll be back after this break.
While you are listening to us, please check us out and like us at facebook.com/timeoutwithjim and follow us at instagram.com/timeoutwithjim.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, on the Carl Vinson, how long were you on it, and what type of ship was it?
Okay, Carl Vinson was what's called CVN, which is a nuclear carrier. Like I said, I got there in April of 1980 and left the ship sometime in probably April of 84. It had left for the World Cruise 2 weeks earlier. Like I said, I flew off of it because of a family situation.
And same question for the Yosemite.
Okay, Yosemite, I was on it for roughly 3 years. It was what's called an AD, a destroyer tender, which means that it mostly sat in Mayport, Florida, which is Jacksonville area. And when it went on a cruise, it would do 6-month cruises, but the majority of its cruising time, or the majority of time it was out to sea, it would pull into ports to repair other ships. Meaning we pull into Malaga, Spain, or Haifa, Israel, and ships would tie up to us, and then we'd repair them. Kind of like a floating, I guess you say a floating, oh shoot, hang on, a floating garage. Going to Pep Boys or, any of the, Western Auto or Goodrich or,
Oh, okay.
stuff like that. Whatever needed to be fixed, they'd fix. Whether it was, painting or, fixing something down in the engine room, stuff like that.
Okay. Same question about the Sylvania.
Yeah, Sylvania. Sylvania was what's called an AFS. It stood for afloat support. Imagine Walmart or Sam's Club being a ship. The other ships would come alongside us, or we would what's called like I said, come up beside us. We'd run cables from one ship to the other, and then pass cargo via what's called a high line. At the same time, there would be a hose going across, giving them more fuel. Or helicopters would pick up stuff on our flight deck and go put it on their flight deck.
Oh.
I was there for a little over 2 years. The Sylvania was used for a couple of different things, in the course of her time. The King Tut exhibit came to the United States for the first time